Good morning, it's Gisele Grenier here from artplace.ca. So, I'm going to work on some more backgrounds. Now, we've been doing a lot of stuff just with gesso and, just paint and stuff, but today I want to show you something really cool. And this is just a sample of one of the pieces. It's not done with paint. Okay, it's done with something called bleeding art tissue. And what bleeding art tissue is, and I pulled out these colors because they're the most beautiful on camera. It's tissue paper, but once it gets wet, the ink, the dye that's actually in the paper gets loose. Okay, it dissolves and it will transfer onto whatever you're putting it on. And you can get these in a bunch of different colors. They become quite translucent actually, and now you can affix these onto your substrate, whether it's canvas, masonite, MDF, multimedia paper, whatever, or you can just use the dye. And I kind of, when I do this particular technique, I will work on sometimes on 6 pieces at a time to get the biggest bang for my buck, because every piece is different, completely unique. So you can get these in color themes. You can get them in the hot colors. You can get some greens and blues and whatever. You just have to go to your art store, and but it's bleeding art tissue. Regular tissue paper, the dye does not come out. But the way to try it is that, if you get like a gift bag or something, or just you spray it, put it on top of some white paper, spray it, leave it for, about 30-45 seconds and see what happens. It's all about experimenting. Okay, so basically, what I like to do is when I'm working on these pieces, because they start out quite intense, then each time I repeat that same piece of paper, the dye gets lighter and lighter and lighter. That's why I can get, very, very unique pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on camera, only so many can fit, but I'll just keep pulling them over. And then what I'll do is I'll then come back in another segment, and I'll actually show you putting the tissue on top of something that's already been done. Okay, so I'm going to basically find a blank page here. And do I have any that's... So here's bleeding art tissue here along with rice paper. Okay, there's some there. And what else do we have? No, nothing in this section. So I don't have many pieces to go. We're almost done. We're almost done. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, first thing, I'm going to work on them stacked, because typically what I like to do is I kind of like to lay them out side by side, but there's not enough room. And if I do it standing up, then I'm going to get in the way. So I'm just going to do it this way. First thing I like to do is I like to wet my paper. Now you may want to protect your table. You may want to wear gloves. That's completely up to you. Myself, I like to get my hands dirty. Get my remote control out of the way. Get my mouse out of the way. And what I like to do is you can crinkle it up and just put it on. Okay? Wetting the paper first just basically kind of helps it stick, because we have to spray again. Okay? Then you're going to spray it. And this one, when you spray, you got to get it really wet. Okay? If you lift off a corner, you can see that it's starting to come off. So what I'm going to do, this is where it gets really cool. Put this aside. Now, I'm going to take a piece off and just let it fall wherever it lays. Okay. And this is one piece that I have, so I'll put that aside. Okay. See? I'll take this aside. See, I'm already out of room. I'm doing this in small pieces so you can actually see more of the effect, but I'm going to start opening up the pieces wider. The crinkles, when you crinkle up the paper, it makes cracks in the finish. And basically, you just keep doing this until you're until there's no more dye coming out. Then when there's no more dye coming out, you can either let it dry, the piece, let it dry, or you can use it for something else. See? Okay, I'm going to put that one aside. I'm going to press. Now, what I can also do too here is that I've got this. Now, it's starting to run out. I can take these off. And I like using small pieces too because the shapes are different. See, this one here is starting to dry out a little bit. As soon as that happens, all you have to do is add more water. But you can see that it gets all over your fingers. When I do this technique, I like doing this on Terra skin. Joe thinks my hands are bleeding. See? So I'll just, that, oops, spray the right way. Take it off, put it on, take it off. This is where, again, I usually work on many pieces at a time when doing this. Okay. Take it off, put it on. Oh, I'll just put this one on top and see what happens. So I just want to get a close-up here just so you can see. Okay. Add a bit more water. And you can see as I'm doing this, the paper's becoming more and more translucent. See that? Now this is where a heat gun does come in handy. And the type of effect will depend on the type of red that you use, obviously. Okay, let me take this off. What's underneath? Nothing, that's okay. Look at that. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Oh. Now this one here was a more fresh, so the dye is going to be a lot stronger. You will also get a different effect if you do it on a gessoed surface or a unprimed surface. These are all gessoed. See? When you get them really wrinkled, it creates these beautiful, beautiful looks. Then you can let it dry. You could just keep adding onto it. I'm going to move this out of the way now. Okay. So if I just do this here, I like using this particular red, the deeper red, on top of stuff that's wine themed, like wine bottle labels and stuff like that, depending on what I'm doing. All this stuff here is all from when I work on multimedia pieces or in my art journal creating some post shots or something like that. So okay, let's get some more in there. Uh-oh, out of water. I have to get my big sprayer. Don't use medium for this because it'll stick. Okay, now let's introduce some yellow. The yellow is not as strong, but look how transparent it becomes. So you can see how when you use this tissue that you can overlay it. See? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a piece that's already been done. And I'll just lay on top of that. Lay on top of that. Now, see, look at this one. That had a long time to sit. I don't like the edges too perfectly even. I like the stuff when it's crinkled. Should have sprayed that first. Now you can do this on unprimed multimedia paper. That's no problem at all. Okay, and that's what this one is. Is this primed? No, this one's not primed because it absorbs really, really well. when I say primed with gesso. See the effect? The gesso is kind of like a sealer, so it doesn't allow a lot of stuff to penetrate. And the purpose of, gesso, especially when it comes to art, I find that it's most useful for oil painting. See? And you can just keep you can keep doing this until there's no dye left. Okay? And then when let me just show you the yellow. Get that really, really wet. You can see how translucent. This was the yellow. The yellow doesn't have a lot in it, but when it's translucent, you can see the full effects. Now these little bits and bobs here, like this, what you can do with these is that this is where you can use these to adhere to multimedia paper that's very thin. It'll give it some strength. Okay, I think I have a few more uses out of this. There we go. Let's get some water on there. You can also, if you want to kill two birds with one stone, is take a dry piece, okay? So, one like that, put it right on top, and you can push. You get that? Oh, it transferred over. Totally unique. Each page is going to be unique. Okay. Let's see. I'll do another one. See, here's one that I did, but then I overlaid with paper towel on top for texture. That'll be for another demonstration. Now, everything that I'm showing you in all the videos, unless I specifically say it's for this medium or that medium, it's only for oils, only for acrylics, only for watercolors, everything I'm showing you can be done on canvas, Terraskin, 140-pound or higher watercolor paper. If you use 90-pound, it might start to curl. See, it's a little lighter. It might start to curl, so you might need to tape it to a board. Anything that will accept acrylics, you can use it on. If you want to do the techniques with oil, obviously this won't work with oils, but oil techniques, I don't recommend doing it on anything other than a surface prepared to accept oils. So you couldn't do the oil techniques that I'm showing you for backgrounds, especially the painted ones. You can't do that on multimedia paper unless you've sealed front, back, including sides, regardless of how thin it is, with gesso. So it's just easier to either use a canvas board. Terraskin's the best because it's made of stone, not paper. You can stretch it, you can cut it, you can do whatever. The stretched canvas on stretcher bars, for some of my techniques, you might actually tear the canvas. But this is all about experimenting, so it's really neat if you just, grab some Terraskin, make up a journal, and practice in that. So I'm just going to open these up a bit just to show you how translucent these are. And I'll just show you how to affix them onto a page. So I'm just going to move this out of the way, get the other pages out of the way, and then I'll come back and show you how to glue these down. Okay, so I'm going to take a piece that I've already prepared, and now what I have here is I have a jar that I've made up kind of a custom mix of medium, and you can use any matte medium as a glue. And what I've done, because I'm doing this on camera with all the video lights, stuff tends to dry really fast. So what I've done is I've taken some Prima matte extender gel with a little bit of gesso, because it'll create some tooth, not too much, okay, and some flow medium, not with water, and the flow medium makes it nice and thin. But you can use matte medium, okay, if you want. I'm just going to take a kind of an old bristle brush, dip it into my jar. Now you should put something underneath your table to protect it. You're just going to layer this. Now this medium dries clear, but it'll give me a little bit more time to work because of the extender. And then I can take this, now depending on how you want to layer it, I'm just going to Now this is the one where I put the paper on and the dye transferred. Now I'm actually going to put the paper onto the piece. You can do this on anything. And all the mediums that I'm using, like the extender and all that stuff, are from Martin F. Weber, and they're flexible. Meaning, if I do this with my page, okay, once it's dry, it's not going to crack, and that's really important. Especially, you know, if you've taken a lot of time to create your artwork. Okay, and then you just lay another one on. Now, if you want it really thick, don't press too hard, but put enough medium on there to create a seal. If you want it nice and thin, you can press hard like this to really seal it down. And this will not only add strength to your page, but it'll give it some texture. And with this now, you can paint over it. You can add more layers on top. You can see some dye, a little bit of dye coming out. That's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. There we go. The one suggestion that I make when you're using bleeding art tissue, make sure that it says on the packaging that it's non-toxic, because you're absorbing all this stuff into your skin, and it has to be non-toxic. If it says, you know, you must wear gloves, find something else. In this, all I have to do is put a couple of drops of 1000 Plus stain remover on my hands, rub it around, rinse it under water, and it's gone. AKA winning colors. There we go. There we go. So that's going to make the page, I can even feel the weight now in the page. That'll make it nice and strong. Now these pages here like this, I let these dry overnight. Okay, I let them dry overnight. I don't do anything with them. I just put them onto a flat surface. You can have palette paper, wax paper underneath. Just put it on top. When they get tacky though, I hang them up in a way to let air reach from all sides. I'll put a little binder clip, and I have an actual rack with twine going almost like a clothesline. And I hang them like this once they're tacky. Okay, because you don't want this, all the medium dripping. And I'll hang them like this with a little binder clip. Like, whoopsie, like that. Okay, that way the air will reach it from both sides. So if I had to actually put a time on it, I'd probably do this step in about 4 hours. Then you can do a lot more pieces too at the same time. The drying rack that I'm using is not fancy schmancy, not thousands of dollars. All it is just a shelf. Okay, just a shelf with wax paper underneath. But where I hang the stuff, I've just tied string from one end of the shelf to the other. That's it. Nothing fancy. Okay, now with that piece, let me just grab some other pieces that I've done just to kind of, oopsie, to show you. So here's another one here. Okay, this is dye, the dye transfer. Okay, and then at the very end, when there was nothing left, I actually put it on top with the medium, and I put strips of very, very textured tissue paper there, and paper napkins. Okay, let's see if I have another one. I have a lot of them that are drying. And I think, oops, here's one. Okay, underneath. And then when I wiped my hands off with the dye, I took that paper towel then and put it right on top, and I got the texture. When I lifted it off, I got the texture. There's all these different things that you can do. And the whole thing is just all about experimenting. I think everything else is on my... Oh, here we go. There's one more. So this one here, what I did is I had a note written down. So with the medium, I put the note on top, and then I took torn paper, put that on top of that. Then I took white, sorry, I took the dye off a well-used piece of tissue, put it on top, did a transfer, the ink transfer, and then when I took that off, then I put I put white bleeding art tissue. You say, well, white bleeding art tissue, what does it bleed white dye? No, it becomes truly translucent, and you can see here. And the final coat that I did on this, I took a little bit of, I put a very, very washy wash with the Permalba gesso with flow medium to make it very, very thin, just to make it almost like a cloud. Then I sealed everything with satin varnish. And I got that. So there's all these different things that you can try. Here's the cover of one of the journals. This is the first layer of paper, and you can see how when it overlaps stuff, really creates some beautiful, intense colors. The colors are a little bit too intense for me. And then this one here, around some of these edges here at the back, I've got some of that. Oh, this is regular tissue paper. So you can see this, not translucent, it's regular tissue paper, but it really makes the covers strong. So it's not just for art use, but you can use it just to strengthen up your pages if you're using thin paper or inexpensive watercolor paper, stuff like that, just to make it a bit stronger. Okay, so this one here will be ready to have more worked on it in about 24 hours.